Per la prima volta Rob Burgess in Italia. Chi è Rob Burgess? È un grandissimo pescatore inglese, freschissimo di vittoria del campionato inglese ed è il primo Korda Koach. Dal 2017 dedica tutta la sua vita per girare più laghi possibili, aiutare più angler possibili a massimizzare le loro catture, dando a loro consigli come potrebbe approcciare ogni differente lago, e la gente è sempre entusiasta di averlo davanti. Oggi ci troviamo nei Laghi Gramigna, un sito che è ancora in costruzione, presto lo ultimeremo, e i nostri bailiff oggi avranno la fortuna di poter pescare a fianco a lui per poter capire come lui esterno potrebbe approcciare questi laghi, che tipo di terminali potrebbe preferire piuttosto che altri e specialmente che tipi di pasturazione usare sul lago per la prima volta visto. Quindi oggi per loro niente lavoro, solo divertimento, tanta pesca e tantissima voglia di imparare.
Good morning guys, Rob Burgess, Korda Koach. Now I've been kindly invited out to Gramigna Lake in Italy. It's my first time in Italy. I tell you what a beautiful, beautiful country it is. I've come out to have a little social with the bailiffs here at Gramigna and give them a little insight of how we fish back in England. I know out here the guys fish a lot of solid bags, but a lot of solid bags on their own, so not over bait. And in England we fish over not lots of bait, but bait is a massive part of how we fish, and I want to sort of give the guys a little insight of exactly how we do this. So really looking forward to share my knowledge with the anglers and the bailiffs here. The trip itself has been fantastic. I've been absolutely spoiled. Lovely food, lovely coffee. It didn't exactly go to plan though, if I'm honest with you. I had a very busy weekend back at home in a big fishing competition, and I got to the airport hotel at about 7 o'clock in the evening on the Sunday, and my flight being first thing Monday morning at 6 o'clock. So I got to the hotel, went to book a taxi, which didn't go exactly to plan. I phoned about 25 different taxi companies and not one of them, not one had any availability to pick me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had a quick look on Google Maps and I was only, I thought 7 miles away from the airport, which was an 11-minute taxi drive or a 2 hours and 40-minute walk. Not the end of the world, but with a 20-kilo rucksack on your back in the middle of the night, having no idea where you was, wasn't exactly the best start, but that's all behind us now. We're now in beautiful Italy, surrounded by beautiful people, and hopefully we're going to catch ourselves some beautiful fish. Right, let's have a little talk about how I've approached this session from the start to where we are now. Now, just like whenever I get to any session, I need to know exactly what I'm fishing over, and the only way to do that is with my leading rod. So with a bare lead, I had several casts in the area that I wanted to fish. Now, to much of my surprise, it's very similar to bottoms that I fish like at home. Very barren, very silty, but still firm. There's no real gravel out there to sort of spot fish as such. So I'm going to be fishing an area rather than looking for that drop every single time. And so my baiting will slightly change according to that. If I was fishing a rock hard, real small little area, I'd be spomming super accurate to that one area, you know, and trying to cram maybe 2, or if the spot's slightly larger, all 3 rods into that zone. But because it's all much of a muchness out there, it's all the same sort of depth, the bottom is very much structurally the same. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be fishing just an area, okay? So yesterday when I got in here, I put in about 5 kilos of the pellet in about 11 mil, some halved boilies and some whole boilies, and they were infused in some fish smart liquid. And I did spom them fairly tight, you know, maybe about 2 bivvy sizes. I've done about 25 spoms just to establish a spot. Okay, so there is no spot that I'm fishing on, so my bait becomes the spot. That is the feature that I want the carp to home in on. If there was a big gravel plateau out there, that's a natural environment for them to sort of hone in on. I haven't got that, so my bait is the major factor for them to come onto it. So I started off with 25 spoms, got them nice and accurate. Now it's fairly shallow out there. It's about 4 foot deep, and I'm not too sure personally how they're going to react to me spomming over the top of them once I've got my rods in position. So I'm going to top up via the throwing stick while my rods are in the water. We're only fishing the days, so we're not going to be fishing the night. So on the evening, just before dark, I'm going to introduce that same mix that I done yesterday evening, the pellet, the half boilies and the whole boilies, just to get them grubbing about. You know, that pellet and the half boilies will keep them digging around a lot longer than it will just whole boilies. So yeah, we're gonna suck and see. I've noticed this morning when I've been throwing sticking, you know, every quarter of an hour I'm picking up 3 baits and putting them over. And as soon as you do that, you notice the little pinprick bubbles. So they really are honing in on the bait, and you can train them. You really can train them to come to the plop. You know, at home on the deeper waters that we fish, when it's sort of like 3 or 4 meters, so sort of 12, 15 foot, they can come to the sound of the spom. But when it's a little bit shallower, you know, and that spom crashing in, that can spook them off. But not always, but like I said, I've only got a couple of days and I really haven't got enough time to sort of learn. So I'm gonna, like I mentioned, stay on the side of caution and just keep on topping up with the spom. I've got one more rod to get out. I've already had a few liners, there's still a few bubbles out there. So hopefully I can catch my first Italian carp. Right, I'm touching on a few really important factors here. Now, in essence, you know, I'm snag fishing. Even though I'm not fishing super tight to the far margin snags, I'm probably 2 rod lengths off. They know where they are, you know, and these are hard, strong fighting fish. And if I fish a fairly loose clutch, they're going to be in them snags and I'm going to lose them probably 9 times out of 10. So it's really important that I've got a tight clutch. These fish can't take any line from my clutch at all. Now I've got a little bit of a drop to my bobbin, so I'm going to get a very good indication. And generally the bites that I get when you're snag fishing, you know, they're quite strong fish. You know, they know where the snags are and they want to get there. And the bites you generally get is pretty much that. Yeah, they can't take any line. I've got a nice little drop on my bobbin, so I know when I've got a bite. Hopefully we'll get them away from the snags and in our nets. Happy and feeding as you possibly can. See him now, straight away bubbling. First Italian carp. Nice one too. Well, what a start to my little Italian adventure, eh? We've not only got one in the net, we're playing one not long after that one did hit the net, and getting the baiting right is key. You know, you've got to be consistent. And once you get them feeding, once you get them competing with food, competing with each other for food, you know, the fishing becomes very easy. You know, and it's just a matter of just repetition, repetition, repetition. And even when you're not getting bites, you're thinking about the baiting and thinking about your next bite, or making rigs for your next bite. So important that you get it right, and when you do, days become, you know, very enjoyable because you're catching lots of carp. Come on, girl.
Want some bait in, mate?
Yeah, get some bait in there, yeah. Look at that, lovely big mouth on it and all.
Go on, girl.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Now, one of the most important things is when you are catching a few fish, to look after them. Nothing worse than seeing a lovely fish with a horrible mouth. And you know, it's us anglers that do the damage to the carp, and it's 90% of it is when we get the fish from the water to the mat. So the one thing we must follow is getting the fish from the net to the sling and to the mat. That is going to save all the mouth damage and really protect these carp so they've got a good future and look amazing when we're taking photos. So simply, you know, clip your net and then gently move the fish in the net to the retainer. And that fish now is in no harm at all, and we can get him safely to the mat. Will you gentlemen please take this one for me? Thank you very much. Well, here it is, my first Italian carp, a lovely common. Might scrape 20 pound this one. Over all that bait, the little wafters with the D-rig kickers, absolutely nailed this one, and it didn't take long on the recast to get another one. And in the retainer, we've got a lovely mirror also, probably about 20 pounds. So we'll put this one back and we'll have a look at a lovely mirror. And there it is, fish number 2, a lovely chunky mirror. I tell you what a battle this put up. Absolute rocket of a fish, and I'm sure one day this one's got a lot of potential. It won't be long before it's a 40-odd pounder. I'm going to get this one back and I'm going to show you the all-important rig that's catching all these lovely carp. So let this one swim off and we'll have a little look. Right, let's have a little look at the rig I've been using. Now, the tubing itself is a new product. This is the new dark matter nano tubing. Now, it's a little bit thinner than the original, but still extremely heavy, and this stuff casts like an absolute dream with it being a little bit thinner. This is then pushed into a nano tail rubber, so it's a little bit thinner at the top end. This will stop the tubing sort of pushing out of the tail rubber as such. We've then got a leg clip, and inside that leg clip we've got a size 8 quick change swivel. Now the important bit, okay, this is a dark matter anti-tangle sleeve. Now without that anti-tangle sleeve, we are in all sorts of troubles because we're going to get tangle after tangle. So it's really important, especially with a heavy bait, that you've got a dark matter or any sort of anti-tangle sleeve in play. We've then got 7 inches of 15-pound boom, and this is tied directly with a little 3-turn grinner to a spinner swivel. But what I've done, cleverly, is cut off the extra O-ring to the spinner swivel. Now I'm using a large hook bait. This is a 20mm wafter, but it's still got a fair bit of weight to it. Now, when this sort of rests on the bottom, I want it all to kick out as one. If I had any sort of braid or any combi rig there, it's very easy for that hook and that hook bait to fold back up the boom, and this is not good for converting bites into fish in the net. So really important that I cut that off and keep it nice and stiff. I've then got a size 2 curve shank, a nice big hook, so we've got a nice big hook bait on there. This is then mounted to a large D-rig kicker. Now the hook bait itself, I'm matching what I'm feeding. I'm feeding the Embryo 20mm boilies, and on my rig I've got one of the Embryo 20mm wafters. And this is mounted to a little micro ring swivel. Now this is a really good, versatile, quick change, anti-tangle rig. These are all the things I look at when I'm constructing a rig. You know, it's quick change at the spinner egg end, it's also quick change at the sort of leg clip end. So a very good rig, and as you can see, it is doing the do today. But one thing I will mention, now I started off with a rig that I use back at home all the time, and that is what would be classed as a multi-combi slip D rig. It sounds a mouthful, it's a very good little rig, but what I've noticed on this session compared to how I fish at home. Now I fish at home with like a lot of double fake corn, a lot of small wafters like 12mm, and these all have one thing in common, they're very light, okay? So with a 20mm bait, what I'm getting, I think, out there is what I don't want to happen, and that hook bait folding back up the mono itself. That's not good. I want it to all kick out. I don't think I get that when I'm fishing a lot lighter baits, like I mentioned, double fake corn and smaller wafters. So, you know, with it folding back up, that's not good for conversion rate. So with the other run, with it being stiff all the way through, boom, I'm fishing every single time, and that's the rod that's been doing all the bites. Carp or grass carp? I think grass carp. I thought I see a big old tail flap out then. We don't catch many grass carp at home, so they're actually, for me, nice to see.
Yeah, but it's fine because in this season, usually, yeah, you catch a lot.
They fight hard, don't they? There you go. Yeah, I've never caught any big ones. Right? We can do you the honours, mate. Terrible net. Terrible. I thought he's having fun, so I thought he'd give him fun.
Yeah.
Is this where they jump at the net? Well done, man.
Rob mi ha appena detto che questo è il suo secondo amur che vede in tutta la sua vita. Un bel esemplare, un bel combattimento. Adesso lo rilasciamo e puntiamo a qualche bella carpa. La strategia sta funzionando.
Soddisfatto dei consigli di Rob, mi ritrovo tra le mani il mio personal best di Laghi Gramigna.
Well, what an awesome start to my Gramigna road trip, catching 3 lovely fish. But if I'm honest with you, it should have been a few more. And it took me a little while to settle in and, you know, find the rigs that worked for here at Gramigna with the bigger hook baits, you know. And at home I fish a lot of smaller hook baits, much lighter, and my rigs weren't really acting how they should have been. So, you know, being proactive angler that I am, you know, I'm always looking for change and sort of trying to get the best out of my rigs and the best out of my sessions. I think I've absolutely nailed it now, because now that I'm putting rods out, I'm getting bites on all 3 rods, which is, you know, important. So hopefully tomorrow we can turn 3 bites into 9 bites. And tonight we're going to put some more bait in. I'm going to give them a good sort of 3 or 4 kilos of the pellet, the chopped boilies, the whole boilies, all infused in that smart liquid, and they're going to get a free grub. You know, I'm not just going to fish whole boilies, I'm going to get it out there so they hopefully stick around all night long. So when tomorrow morning comes, we can have a really sort of, you know, good go at it and hopefully get amongst some of the real nice fish that are in here. And all this information that I've gathered over the last few hours, you know, with tweaking my rigs, I can then pass these on to the bailiffs, they can pass it on to the members, and, you know, I'm sure there'll be absolutely bundles of carp coming out here in future. Really good day, but really looking forward to tomorrow. Good morning and welcome to day 2, and I'm very much looking forward to getting the rods back out. The fish have definitely got on last night's bait. All that pellet, the chopped boilie and the whole boilie I put out has kept them grubbing around, because trust me, it's like an absolute jacuzzi out there. I have put an extra few baits out on the throw and stick this morning. I've got 3 rigs ready. Let's get them out there. Well, that really didn't take long at all. I got a mouthful of breakfast down me and the old right hand rod on them wafters, straight into action. And what a beautiful morning to be playing fish. Absolutely glorious. I'll tell you what, I could get used to this. Not a bad start. Yeah. I was just to get... Oh, that's my second ever grass carp, and got it. Well, we was just about to have a look at my biggest ever grass carp, and to say it jumped at the net would be an understatement. I was literally just about to get it out of the water, and and then we have another common, and we've got another one on now. So yeah, another really productive morning. And, you know, they're bubbling like mad out there. They're clearly on the bait, and you know, now it's just about repetition, getting the rods back out, chopping it up with a throwing stick, and enjoying a good day's fishing. Very nice fish. Oh, that looks like a lovely common. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very nice fish. Get in there. Very good. Very good. Can someone grab it from me? Well, what a lovely way to start the morning. A real plump Gramigna common with a lovely mouth as well. I tell you what, they're on the bait now as well. They really are bubbling out there, and like I said, it's just a matter of topping it up, keeping them rods going out, and keeping these beautiful fish coming to the bank. Had a funny story, had a lovely grass carp, probably my biggest ever grass carp. Was just about to take the pictures, and yeah, done a very good job of jumping out the net. So never mind, it's all good and fun and games, but this one here really is a lovely fish. Right, let's have a little talk about bait. And for me, bait is one of the most important factors when I go fishing. You know, bait is what gets them competitive, bait is what keeps them in the area, and bait is what keeps the bites coming. I fish a lot of solid bags at home, and don't get me wrong, they're an absolutely fantastic way of catching carp. But with solid bags, you're almost just nicking the odd bite. You know, you're not really building anything, you're not really getting anything going. But through bait, you can get them into area, you can get them confident, and it will keep the bites going. And you know, bait is important for the future of the fishery as well. You know, any fishery wants nice big carp so anglers can come and catch lovely big carp. And bait is the only way they're going to get big. So putting bait into a lake, you know, you're not only catching carp for yourself, but you're protecting the future for the fishery as well, which is super important. And you know, to me, this is what it's all about. So I'm going to show you the mix, what I do and how I'm doing it. And you know, how much I put in is depending on how much time I've got. You know, if I've only got a day session, I may start with, you know, 10-15 spoms, maybe nick a bite off of that, and then be on the throwing stick after that. You know, 25-30 baits every 20 minutes, half an hour, 3 or 4 more baits. It's just ringing that dinner bell, you know, ringing that sort of the bell for them to come, and they get in tune with it. They soon realise that the spom going in or the bait dropping from the throwing stick or the catapult means food. You know, that means nourishment for them, and that means they're going to get nice and big and strong. So it's really important. Pellet, you know, pellet is a fantastic bait. It's also extremely cheap, so you can put a lot in. It doesn't cost you the earth, which is really good. Boilie is a good staple diet for them, you know, lots of protein, lots of carbs, and that's going to get them also very big. And things like Smart Liquid are a fantastic attractor, you know, get that all over your bait. That is going to keep them grubbing around. That's going to really sort of penetrate into the silt, keep them fish grubbing around, even when there's not much bait left. they can smell it, they stick around, and you catch more carp from it. You know, so this is my little mix here. You can see there's a lot going on there. You know, I've got my pellet, I've got my boilie, I've got a little bit of crumb in there, but not too much. I've got a few halves and a few quarters, and it's all infused into that smart liquid. And you know, if I'm coming into a morning session, I'll put 10 or 15 of this out. I've only been fishing the sort of days, so of an evening time, I've been giving them a good half a bucket. You know, that's gonna keep them grubbing around all night long until I'm getting my rods back out in the morning. And when I am, you know, once the rods are out, the boilie goes over the top. But one thing that I do, and one thing that a lot of my friends do at home and a lot of anglers do at home is we fish 3 rods in one area. Okay, rather than bait 3 different spots, we condense all our rods into one area. Your bait goes further. You're not having to put 5 key there, 5 key there, 5 key there. You can put 5 key on one area, you know, and it's a good way of building a swim. So, you know, bait for me is important. I know where my next bite's coming from because I know where the spot is, the fish know where the spot is, and I definitely catch more carp from it. Like I mentioned, the pellet is very cheap and it can be bought on site here at Gramigna, and I would absolutely recommend that you get on this, guys. It is a fantastic way of, like I say, building your swim, but also the future for the fishery. And along with the pellet, the boilie is also here, available at Gramigna.
Per me è un onore avere qui Rob in questo lago Embryo, e ho visto già da subito che mi sarebbe piaciuto come persona perché ha un approccio molto diretto. È arrivato, la prima cosa che ha fatto è pasturare prima di lanciare le canne. Ha voluto continuare e variare la sua pasturazione di minuto in minuto, proprio ogni 5-6 minuti cominciava a pasturare col cobra, a lanciare palline, tutto così. Ha avuto un approccio molto diretto, interessante, provando vari rig e una tecnica di pesca molto diversa da quella che utilizziamo noi, e proprio una mentalità completamente diversa dalla nostra.
Questa sessione con Rob è stata davvero fantastica. L'approccio che ha affrontato sul lago mi ha impressionato, perché comunque ha iniziato con un'abbondante pasturazione, cosa che usualmente in questo lago non avviene. Ci ha un'idea generale un po' diversa. Appena individuato il rig che più funzionava, ha spostato tutte le canne con lo stesso rig, regalandogli così tante catture. La naturalezza che ha nei movimenti è un qualcosa che a vederlo è veramente impressionante, lo ripeto, e sono sicuro che se ci sarà l'occasione, una sessione con lui, voglio rifarla perché c'è tanto da imparare. E sono contento che oltre a me c'erano i bailiff dei Laghi Gramigna, abbiamo parlato anche ieri sera, sono molto contenti e si sta imparando davvero tanto.
Di Rob mi è piaciuto veramente tutto, la scioltezza nel lancio, la costruzione dei rig e la velocità che ha nel pasturare dopo aver calato la sua canna.
Quello che mi ha colpito di Rob è che bisogna provare e provare. Spesso noi pescatori ci focalizziamo sullo stesso rig oppure su pescare nello stesso spot. Invece Rob mi ha insegnato che non bisogna mai fermarsi, bisogna sempre provare a nuovi rig e provare nuovi spot. Inoltre mi ha insegnato una nuova tecnica di lancio per avere una maggior precisione anche in condizioni di forte vento. È stata veramente un'esperienza fantastica.
Well, I must say I have thoroughly enjoyed my very short stay here at Gramigna. The hospitality of the guys has been, I've never experienced nothing like it. The fishing here is absolutely fantastic, and I think Gramigna has got such an awesome future with the fish it has in here already. The bailiffs themselves, fantastic guys. Hopefully they'll take away a little bit of the knowledge that I've shown them along the way. You know, our fishing is very different. My fishing at home to Italy is completely different, and hopefully, you know, the baiting approach that we use at home, the guys here, the bailiffs and the members can take on and learn and catch lots of carp, because baiting really is a fantastic way of getting the most out of your session. You know, at home sometimes I fish single hook baits and single solid bags, but there's nothing better than creating an area, evolving it, catching fish off it, because you actually feel like you've done something, you know, and being proactive when you're not getting bites, topping the spots up, getting on the throw-in stick, all these little things to me is all part of angling, and you learn from it as well and you become a better angler. So hopefully you will take something out of it. I've most certainly enjoyed it. I really want to come back one day and inspire more people, inspire the anglers, inspire the bailiffs to really get the most out of their session. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you on the bank soon.